Thank you very much.
All right, so hello everybody. My name is Max Warwick from the University of Warwick. Ha 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 ha, very entertaining. And I am the politics and international studies department coordinator of MA Student Experience and Progression, and the teaching fellow in international relations and East Asian studies, formerly teaching fellow in international relations and Japanese studies, which is part of the reason I am here giving this presentation to you. Just to explain what student and experience and progression means, what my role is to do with. My role focuses on making sure that students that attend Warwick are properly engaged, are getting the most possible out of their time at the university, and can therefore graduate from the university in a more strong position to continue further research, if that's what they're interested in, to get a job, if that's what they're interested in, to pursue a career in politics, in policy making, in diplomacy, in a think tank, all these different various career paths that are related to the graduates from this department. And because that's my role, that also puts me in a position to talk about what the benefits of attending the University of Warwick is, attending the Department of Politics and International Studies is for an MA program. And over the next half hour or so, I am going to talk through the different benefits and some of the key points which are important to know about Warwick and why Warwick stands out not only as a UK university, but stands out more in an international context as well. And just to be clear, as I iterated earlier, there will be a question and answer element to this. If you have questions, that is great. That allows me to cater to you, to coordinate my responses to you as much as possible. So as the presentation proceeds, please do not be shy and type any questions that occur to you in the chat box, and we will get to them after the presentation. Okay, there we go, success this time. Right, so first, just starting out with the broad qualities of PACE. We are a large department. Politics departments typically don't feature 70 academic staff. Departments broadly typically don't feature 70 academic staff. But because PACE is world leading, part of the reason we are world leading is our large number of academic staff, 35 of which teach postgraduate courses, myself included in that number. That means if you come to Warwick to do an MA, you will have a large pool of talent into which you can tap, from which you can learn, to whom you can go for guidance about your research agenda and indeed about your future, if that interests you. In addition to that, conceptually, theoretically, and methodologically, we are a very diverse department with very diverse focuses. My research interests focus on Japanese security, for instance. My colleague focuses on economic relations within Europe. We have other colleagues who do research on climate change, on political development in South America, on comparative politics, on the growth of populism, on democratization, all of these different potential areas of study with different approaches for understanding them and different ways of analyzing them. This is really beneficial, particularly, I feel, for people at the early stages of their academic career. And you are all officially in an academic career now. You are students, you're attending university, you're thinking of attending a postgraduate, doing a postgraduate at a university. You are in an academic career. And at the early stage of your academic career, the access to this diversity lets you test new ideas. It lets you try to understand new ways of addressing problems or addressing problems. And it really is, as I said, beneficial. And for my part, it is a key reason that separates UK universities from, for instance, Japanese universities. My experience of Japanese universities being that they are a lot more focused on a few set approaches, a few ways of doing things, which are work, which are fine, which are great, but it can be limiting. And UK universities provide you a lot more space to explore different approaches, and Warwick provides the best space to explore these different ideas because of our diversity, because of our large academic staff. The research we do is relevant in an academic context and a policy context as well. And just a bit of a side note, as you join this meeting, if you could please make sure that you mute yourself, that would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, what that means in terms of academic and policy relevant research is that what our academics publish has impact. It is listened to, and not only has impact in terms of journals and books that regularly cite our academics, that cite our work, but the British government listens to us. The UN listens to what our academics have to say. Our colleagues have advised British government, advised the Foreign Office, advised the UN, advised NGOs. They are relevant, they are important. And if you come here, you will have access to that relevance, that high degree of expertise. We are, as a university, trying to foster an international outlook. This event is part of that international outlook. And through our extensive work, through our advice giving and so on, we have developed extensive networks at a local level in our community in Warwick, in the Midlands, more nationally through the UK, and indeed regionally in Europe and more globally. And if you attend Warwick, you will have access to those extensive networks. And it's at this point as well, before I move on, I should probably give you a quick outline about a key thing which separates UK universities from many other universities, including the Japanese ones, particularly when it comes to postgraduate study. And that is a lot of emphasis at the UK university, at Warwick, is put on you as an independent researcher. Now, this is a theme I'm going to keep coming back to as I go through my presentation. But what that means simply is that you are responsible for your work and you have the freedom to pursue the research you want to pursue at an MA level. In concrete terms, the actual teaching that will be done by the academics that you will see face to face will typically be 2 hours per module per week, with the additional 20 hours that you're meant to have for each module per week, and I'll get into that later. You have an additional 18 hours left over from that 20 hours you're meant to have, and that those 18 hours are yours. And when I say they are yours, it doesn't mean, yay, finish my lesson, now I can go and play tennis for 18 hours. It means you have 18 hours to work as you see best. 18 hours to do reading, 18 hours to, if you're not confident in your English, to practice your English and receive English language support from our university, 18 hours to engage with other academics to ask their advice, 18 hours to reflect on your notes, 18 hours to engage with your colleagues outside of the seminar, 18 hours to go to extracurricular talks and lectures on research, 18 hours to develop your career. All of this puts a great deal of emphasis on you as individuals. And that means that there is a degree of collegiality between students and staff at Warwick, which is uncommon, I would say, in other contexts. It is expected of you, it is normal to approach academics and to ask their advice and to build relationships with them. That is the model that PACE offers. And again, this is a point I will come back to later. Even if you are not thinking of pursuing a future career in academia, the freedom you are given at PACE helps you develop excellent problem-solving skills, excellent adaptability, an excellent ability to encounter and overcome and resolve issues. These are skills that are sought after in any workplace. At a more undergraduate level, there is a degree of you are told what the subject is, what the problem is, and you are given a lot of hints as to how to fix it, and then you are tested on your ability to remember that, and that's a useful skill. Being able to receive information, process information, and output that information is important. But at PACE, the additional skill, the skill that is more greatly focused on, is an ability to think independently, to act independently, and to be able to negotiate and maneuver through potential issues as they come up. This is something, as I said, which is sought after by jobs in different contexts. And it is a reason that so many of PACE graduates go on to have successful careers. A really high rate of employment is present for our graduates. And I'll go more to that later. Now, this sort of connects with what I was saying earlier regarding your independence as a researcher. Now, one thing that is clear from this list of MA programs you can see before you is the diversity I was speaking about earlier. You can see everything there: international political economy, public policy, international relations, more regional studies like international politics and East Asia, which I coordinate, international politics in Europe, US foreign policy. There is a broad range of subjects available, but rather than thinking of them as these subjects, these programs, the language pathway is deliberate, because even within this multitude of programs, and this is sort of shaping the dissertation you will write. By the way, if you come to Warwick, you are going to write an MA dissertation. That is a requirement. That is something that will happen. But even within these pathways, there's a lot of flexibility to tap into additional modules for you to cover a very broad range of subjects, if that's what you want to do, or to really focus down and choose a selection of modules focused on a very narrow area, both of which have advantages. But the important point is both of these options are available to you. You have a lot of choice, which is important for developing your academic career, developing your academic ability, and quite frankly, in my experience, very important for making sure that you enjoy the process, that you enjoy the university. In addition, going back to the extensive network I was talking about earlier, There are double MAs available at Warwick, which you can find more about by going to our website and contacting relevant people in the department office. All these universities we have double year degree programs with. So you would do 1 year at Warwick, and then the second year at this different university, whether it be the American University, the University of Waterloo, University in Brussels, University of Pompeu-Fabra, University of Constance, Monash, or the Nanyang Technological University. If that's what you're interested in, that is available to you. That option is open to you. Right. This goes back to that broader outline I was making earlier about the independence and the freedom given to students here, and the academic and policy relevance of what our staff produce, what our academic staff produce. Research-led teaching means that the academics who are teaching you are experts in their field. The modules they are teaching are often designed by the academics in question and are framed within their own research. That might seem like a very obvious thing to you guys, but due to how sort of teaching often works in universities, you will have an academic, they will create a module, and then that academic will go on to do their research and leave their module behind to be inherited by a next academic who might not be familiar, might be interested in the module that they have to teach. In Warwick, that is not the case. In Warwick, at the MA level, these modules are largely tailored, created by the people who are teaching them, or they are given the freedom to inherit modules and to change them and to modify them so they suit their research interests. That maintains their motivation, and it gives you a connection into their research as well. There is a degree of expertise related to the dissertation process as well. The MA dissertation I mentioned earlier, that will be mandatory if you come to the University of Warwick. If you don't do an MA dissertation, you can't graduate. But the MA dissertation will be done with one of the 70 staff within our department. And as I sort of mentioned earlier, 70 staff who write research, who do research, which is academically relevant and is policy relevant. So you are getting the best advice it is possible to get during your dissertation process. Particularly if you are considering a career in academia, this is very important because this is effectively your first stepping stone into research, your way of building up your research profile, your research agenda, which you will pursue through your career in academia. There are specialist events put on by the department as well. We have a PACE seminar series where world-leading academics are invited to give talks on their research in the department. And within the department, there are various other research and study groups, research clusters, who are regularly putting on research events. For instance, I organize the East Asia Study Group at the University of Warwick, and we host events by academics on international relations and on politics related to East Asia. We recently hosted a talk by Dr. Cabalza from the University of Philippines, talking about the South China Sea, West Philippine Sea issue. And we had another talk recently by another academic, Dr. Seb Rumsby, talking about the Hmong minority in Vietnam's highlands and how their form of development leads to questions regarding standard understandings of how development should work. I make that point just to again emphasize the real breadth of research, the real breadth of topics that are discussed at a professional level at Warwick. So there is definitely something for everybody. And if you don't know what your something is yet, coming to Warwick can help you figure out and decide what that something is. There are also opportunities to get involved in real research projects. There are research assistantships, 10 to 12 every year, where academics will put in an application requesting research help for an upcoming project that they're trying to handle, and you are able to apply for that. You would write an application, submit it to the department, and then the department will pair you with the academic best suited to you and you who are best suited to the academic. That's all to say there are a lot of opportunities on place, both in terms of your research skill development and your broader skill development as well. All of the PACE MA programs map onto what are called research clusters, which are at present 4 key ways that research is divided at the University of Warwick. We have international political economy, international relations and security, political theory, and comparative politics and democratization. The MA programs are designed to fit within these clusters. And this is important to know, because as I said earlier, you have a lot of freedom. Freedom is expected, responsibility is expected of you as an MA student, for you to engage with the subject, to read around the subject, to discuss the subject, your research, outside of the seminar. And these research clusters provide the perfect forum for those discussions to occur. You will obviously also have your own individual freedom to speak with your friends about your ideas in a more informal way at our cafe, at our student union, of which we have several. But these provide more formal structures as well that connect you to PhDs or PhD candidates, that connect you to those 70 academics I was talking about earlier, and that will connect you to visiting academics when they are invited to talk at the university, to temporarily stay at the university for a visiting fellowship as well. That's all to say that the freedom model, which is largely pursued throughout all UK universities, is really given the most space and the most support by the University of Warwick's approach to teaching, to managing research, and indeed to combining research with teaching. There is also the pragmatic vocational element. These are the key beneficiaries of our research so far. These are very broad terms, because if you went into specifics, the presentation would be an hour of me just clicking slide after slide after slide after slide after slide, right? There's a lot. But because they are beneficiaries of our research, they represent part of an expanding network. They may represent a potential gateway into future employment for you as well. So there is a very beneficial, pragmatic edge to attending the University of Warwick just on that basis. But in addition, the University of Warwick has really gone out of its way to try and support the construction of these different career paths and the development of what are called transferable skills that help you, one, identify what career path you are potentially interested in, what career path your skill set is best suited to. But it also helps you to develop those transferable skills. Now, like I said at the top, the responsibility you have, the responsibility and independence of research and study expected of you develops these transferable skills, which are largely applicable in any environment. But in addition to this, there is support available to you through the Student Opportunities Team, capital S, capital O, and the Student Careers Team, capital S, capital C. These are individuals who are permanently hired by the university to offer workshops on how to best use your MA degree after you graduate, how to market yourself, how to identify how your MA degree makes you a valuable candidate for any job. It helps you narrow down your options. It helps you understand what your skill set is, and it connects you to potential employers. There are regular careers fairs held at the University of Warwick, where some of those individuals in this network will come and will attempt to scout and interview and talk with potential candidates. That's all to say, I am a professional academic. I have experience in how being at the University of Warwick, I did my PhD there, helps develop one's academic career, but I am also very cognizant of this additional support that can be applied to a broader spectrum of different careers as well. Right down to the minutiae, they will hold one-to-one workshops on writing good CVs, good cover letters, good applications. Now, related to that support, it also comes in other ways as well. Like I said earlier, interactive dynamics in terms of the teaching is done in 2-hour blocks. And that 2-hour block is a seminar. Lectures don't happen. They happen informally and you can attend them, but the actual formal teaching process that occurs in a 2-hour block format in a seminar. Again, it's providing you with that freedom and that option to pursue and to interact and develop your own research agenda. You are expected to contact and interact with staff. That is different from what I understand the American context is, for instance, where there are students, there are teaching assistants with whom the students interact, and professors are at a different level who you do not interact with, who you do not speak to, who you leave alone because they are busy and important. Now, we're also busy and important, but within our contracts, within our work, we are obligated and we are happy to have our advice and feedback time, to provide open hours where students can come and talk about problems they're having with their module, or talk more broadly about research that interests them and ask broad advice. There is a personal tutoring system where an academic other than your lecturer typically will be responsible for your academic development. They will hold regular meetings with you, as regular as you want them to be, to talk about how you are developing, what difficulties you may or may not be experiencing. Similarly, there is a drop-in session with myself and my colleague, the other coordinator of student experience and progression, and the director of graduate studies as well. All of this is available to you, so you can always stay on top of your work. And that if you encounter a problem, if you encounter any difficulty, we will work to find a solution. The well-being of our students is something that we are very cognizant of. And one thing not mentioned here, but which should be mentioned here, is well-being at Warwick, which offers counselling services and broad advice for those times when it becomes too stressful, when it becomes too much. PACE and the University of Warwick more broadly has built an effective infrastructure around its teaching to ensure that you can get the most out of it, to ensure that you can pursue the career you want to pursue after it, and to ensure that you can enjoy it. Very important, very worthwhile, though I am biased. The transferable skills and the networking opportunities I've already mentioned, though it is worth mentioning that there is an informal alumni network through LinkedIn, and it is very common for our former graduates to open communications from our current students asking advice, particularly if they have got a job in an area that you are interested in pursuing yourself. You can get in touch and they can give you a hands-on, like on-the-ground list discussion about what is best, what you need to do to get that same job, about their experience. All very helpful. And this is one that is quite obvious in the context that I am giving a talk to Japan-based students. English language is necessary. All the lessons are taught in English. It is the lingua franca. And you need to be able to speak English to get the most out of it. Warwick Foundation Studies offers English support throughout the year. Regular sessions, regular seminars that you can attend to practice and develop not only your everyday English, but your academic English. Important for that career post-academia, important for a career after graduating if you're not interested in academia, and important for engaging in the seminars and getting the most out of the University of Warwick. In addition, there is a pre-sessional course that takes place over the summer between July and September, so before your degree. And the advantage of that is it also gives you an opportunity to come early and get used to the campus, get used to the University of Warwick, and to enjoy British summer. And, you know, I'm sure you've all heard nasty jokes about the British weather. They're largely true, unfortunately. But our summers are really, really nice. And certainly for my money, preferable to the Japanese summer, where I spent most of my time sweating my guts out when I lived there for 5.5 years. Right, now we're sort of coming towards the end of this, going towards the end of the presentation section of this, and then we're going to see if you have any questions. But this is the sort of broad structure of how the MA program is divided. It's 180 credits. Okay. Each credit represents 10 hours of work, I think, from memory. So to get those 120 credits, that means you typically have to do one core module, which is related to bang, 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 related to which MA program you chose. So for instance, if you did MA in International Politics and East Asia, which is a very good course, which I manage, you would have to do a module called the International Relations of the Asia Pacific. So it would involve doing one of those core modules and then 2 or 4 optional modules. I say 2 or 4 because modules are either structured to take place over 2 terms or they are structured to happen in 1 term. If you do like 2-term modules only, you should only have room for 3 modules. However, if you want to do lots of 1-term only modules, which is also fine, then you would have 4 modules, right? 2 1-term modules in term 1, 2 1-term modules in term 2. And the other part, the other 60 credits, a third of your degree comes from this. your MA dissertation on a topic of your choosing. You have a lot of freedom here. One caveat is it does need to relate to your MA program choice, which is quite sensible. If you do an MA program entitled International Relations of the Asia Pacific, and it comes to the job interview, what did you do a dissertation on? And you say, I did it on British Parliament, then they would possibly reasonably ask you, well, why did you do an MA in International Relations of the Asia Pacific? So that caveat notwithstanding, you have a lot of freedom to choose what dissertation you want to write, and you have excellent resources, the aforementioned academic staff, to help you write the best possible dissertation that you can. This is just some description of the modules that are available. They cover some of the broad areas we teach. So you can see here are some examples of one-term modules: East Asian development, rising powers, citizenship, migration and cultural diversity. And there are some core modules as well, which are the more two-term modules: theories and issues in international political economy, fundamentals of quantitative methods, so on. And here is a bigger list, all of which is available. If you go to the University of Warwick website and look for PAIS, P-A-I-S, you can see all of the different programs we have available and all the different modules we have available, including breakdowns of what happens in that module, what you will learn from that module, what the key questions engaged with in that module are. And now the really sort of standard stuff, which you probably, hopefully, know already. You need to have a 2-1 or an equivalent to do an MA at the University of Warwick. If you want to study at PACE, it should be in politics and or international studies or closely related areas. So there is a lot of room for sociology, history, economics, but with that critical dimension. And that goes back to what I said at the top of this, that the plurality and diversity of theories and approaches and methods and subjects means that there is an emphasis at Warwick to reflect on your thinking, to question how things are done normally, to question why things are done normally. Hence that sort of critical dimension addition at the end of it. There are also considerations for serious applicants from other disciplines, humanities or business, though from the sign-up sheet earlier, it seemed most of you were sociologists or not politicians, but interested in politics and IR and potentially economics as well. You do require a strong academic reference from a teacher at your, normally from a teacher at your current university or the university you did your undergraduate in. A personal statement that explains why joining PACE is a good idea, why you'll be an asset for PACE, how you get the most out of PACE. That also explains and articulates your personal background, and an English language requirement. IELTS, overall score is 7.9, minimum component of 2 of 6.0, 6.5, and the rest is 7.0 or above. Yeah. Right. My boss is Philippe Blanchard. He is the Director of Graduate Studies. That is his email address. If you have a question for him after the fact, which is fine, and that is my name, and that is my email address. And similarly, if you have a question for me after this event, if you can't think of it now, no trouble, do get in touch. And that is the University of Warwick website, to which I encourage you to go to sort of see again all the things I mentioned here. And there is a bottom email there, which is the more administrative side of questions regarding MA programs, like what the process is, what the deadlines are, and so on and so forth. Okay, that is the conclusion of my presentation. There are approximately 15 minutes remaining for any questions that might be asked.
Thank you very much, Max. ご参加の皆さん、もし質問があればですね、チャットからお伝えいただいてもいいですし、ミュートを外していただいてですね、マイクからご質問いただいても大丈夫です。何かご質問ありましたらどうぞ気軽に。
And if I get a choice, I prefer the unmuting and speaking, please.
May I ask some questions then?
Yeah, go mad.
All right, thank you. So you emphasize about the practice for the soft skills, maybe like problem solving skill, the skill to think, act independently, kind of stuff. Probably student can be encouraged to push that skill even when they are writing personal statement. Do you think there's anything like students should perform or like trying to introduce them more with kind of skills?
In the application process or at the university?
Mm-hmm.
Which one?
Application skills. Yeah, like for the personal statement, like do they require to show that kind of skill already, or what is exactly checked during the application session?
Well, I suppose that's a very good point. If you do have those strong sort of independent skills already, that's wonderful. But I wouldn't say it's necessarily a requirement, because part of the whole reason you're at the University of Warwick would be to develop those skills anyway. I would say in the personal statement, it's the key thing, as it is in most sort of statements when you're applying for something, is demonstrating how you will benefit from PACE, why PACE should consider your application. So showing that you are serious about the subject you want to learn about, showing that you have some knowledge related to that subject, showing you have a clear idea about your future and how PACE will fit into that future, how developing those skills, how those skills that you maybe don't have yet, but you think you can get through PACE, how those skills will help you in your future. I think that is the key thing to keep in mind when writing that personal statement.
Thank you very much. So it's more like showing the background to prove the passion for the course or the reason to join that course then.
Yes, so I like that, proving your passion for it, and also showing that you thought about it seriously. Because if you can explain how it will fit into your future, evidently you have seriously considered what your future will be. And that makes you stand out as a serious candidate and as someone that we are interested in having come and study at Warwick and be one of our colleagues.
Great, thank you very much. 参加の皆さん、質問ないでしょうか？チャットからでもいいので、ぜひ書いてみてください。While they are thinking about any other questions, can I ask one more question about in-session English language learning?
Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned about
as best I can.
Yeah, it's like is it like mostly your courses requiring high English level, I think? overall 7 already. Probably some students already have good skill in English. Or how do you offer in-session English? Like student can go certain area and then take the lesson, or how does it organized?
Okay, so the in-sessional English sessions, they are organized by a separate department. They have permanent staff who will hold and schedule regular English language sessions, academic English language sessions. Typically, I think there's 1 or 2 a week which you should attend, though I'm not quite up to date on that particularly. But that's how it operates. It will not be done like in the actual academic seminar. And you are quite right, Kasumi, in saying like a high level of English is required, I would say, to get the most out of the program. That's not to say that if you go to a seminar, then you're going to be forced to talk and people will demand you speak and shout and whatever else. But if you can engage, if you can exchange ideas, that is best, that is most helpful. The whole seminar format in the UK and in Western universities more broadly is very much modeled on Western traditional philosophy, particularly Greek philosophy. An idea by Socrates that debate is the best way of producing the best ideas, because that allows you to exchange 2 different viewpoints, to understand potential weaknesses, to find the strengths, and to come up with a better idea between you. It's a constructive, iterative process of coming up with new ideas, which is what universities really are about, I would argue. And the in-sessional English courses, they are designed to happen alongside your regular seminars. So there'll be extra hours where there are regular teaching sessions, typically 1 hour, 2 hours in length, where you will go through different English language lessons focused on developing your ability to debate and interact and building up your knowledge of academic English, which is separate to everyday English.
Right, thank you very much. 他にご質問はないでしょうか? Ifになければこのまま、イベントの方は終了とさせていただければと思います。I thank you very much, Max. It seems they don't have any questions at the moment. So probably if they have any questions, they're going to send you the email, or probably they contact us and then we can ask you later on. And if there anything you want to, if there anything you add, the message you want to add now?
Oh, I think I covered it all in the presentation, but just to say that, honestly, if you do have any questions or are unsure on anything, even if it's sort of along the lines of, how do I know it is right for me? Do get in touch with Philippe, with myself, or with the PACE admissions team. The free emails for which you can see there on the screen.
Thank you very much. Then, yeah, that's it for today. Thank you very much again. Thank you very much for the presentation, and thank you very much for joining.
Okay, my pleasure. All right.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.